The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bit by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is Andre Maid, your podcast host. Big thanks to Uka the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers, and big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another action-packed, fun-filled show. Today we have a very exciting guest. If you're of a certain generation, of my generation, of the generation a little before me, a little after me. Today we are talking with a PJ Fresh, Phil himself, the star of the Zone on YTV, Phil Guerrero. Very great conversation, very cool guy. Man, oh man, does that guy have a story to tell. He's been everywhere, man, everywhere. I almost broke into a Johnny Cash song there. But very interesting insight into what it was like working on that show. Very interesting insight into his life. I mean, he was a very interesting guy, well-traveled, reinvented himself many, many times. And that seems to be a through line of his life, finding the next adventure, the next thing to do, the next hurdle. And he goes some crazy places, man. He's acting, then on to working in bands, then on to being in the fashion industry, then on to into professional wrestling. We have one hell of a talk, and that's just a little preview of all the things we cover. But it's a great conversation and a really great chat. So a big thanks to Phil for being on the show. If you, like me, watched YTV growing up, he was an integral part of your childhood. You saw him on TV all the time. And yeah, he was. It was a great conversation. I'm really glad I got a chance to talk to him. We are entering October now, which is spooky season. If you are as big a fan of Halloween as I am, that means you are now in your element. Now you can fire up the Halloween, the scary movies. I mean, I watch scary movies all the time, but now you have an excuse to just watch all scary movies this month. You know, decorate the house with all the fun Halloween stuff. Put the ghouls up, the skeletons from the trees. Get the lights out, carve the pumpkins. Man, oh man, do I love Halloween. It's by far one of my favorite times of year. It may be. I mean, I like Christmas a lot too. So somewhere, those two are neck and neck for favorite seasons for me. And they're really close to each other, so lucky me. But it's a blast, man. I love Halloween. So I'm very excited to get some decorations up. I'm excited to watch some horror movies. Excited to just, celebrate all things spooky, which is one of my favorite things to do during this time of the year. And it's a blast. So if you're a Halloween fan, let me know. Just drop me a line on the socials, on the website. And yeah, thanks for your continued support. I like engagement with the fans. I like to foster a great relationship with my listeners and get to know what they want to hear, what they don't like to hear. Don't hear a lot lately, and I'd like to hear more. So if you're listening, if you're a fan, spread the word, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, listen in. And if you didn't know about our other podcasts that I do with Davin Skellhorn, we do X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show. We are now starting to do a review, since we've done the original series, Fox series, and then a bunch of the movies. We're now moving on to doing the TV show X-Men Evolution, so it's a little bit of a reinvention over there, and it's going to be a fun time. If you like that show, if you have a lot of fond memories of that show, and you like the energy that we brought to X-Men, you can now bring it to X-Men Evolution. So X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show Evolution begins, it's actually beginning now. I do film these a little bit, no, actually it won't be. Normally I film these quite a bit in advance, but oddly enough, the way things shook out, this one actually is being recorded just before it airs. So yeah, it'll be coming tomorrow night, Tuesday, you'll be getting the first episode of that version of the show. So, all right, so without much further ado, let's get into my conversation with Phil Guerrero. You're in Toronto, are you?
Yes. Sorry. There we go.
Excellent. I actually was just there last weekend. Went up for a concert. Went for a concert and visited a friend and kind of snuck around the city at a few of the things that I've never got to do when I was in Toronto. So
you ate. Where did you eat?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know you went to a bunch of places to eat. I'm sure.
My buddy is lives out in Alliston, but he's like a big business guy, so he has like businesses everywhere. So he like picked me up at the airport in his like Corvette and drove me around to like all these different places. But one of them is what was it Balladino's? Is that it? It's a
Paladino.
ba-
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't have a Corvette. It sounds like a rich kind of restaurant.
Yeah. Well, no, it's actually like a cool little pizza place. He took me there. He took me to Blood.
Oh no, I know where you're on Dovercourt.
Yeah, it's like it's like in a residential-ish kind of neighborhood.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know what? Did you have to line up? Like we still
Yes.
haven't been there because it's like the lineups are just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was sort of down the street, but not like, I think it was like a 5-minute wait. It wasn't ridiculous.
I forget, but what is it called? It's called. I forgot.
It's Bala something. I know that because I just don't remember how it ends. Bala Pizza Toronto. But the other one was the Blood Brothers, which is like
Oh, what the fuck? That's like a block away from my house.
oh, is it? Oh no, that was awesome.
Yeah, we park across the street.
Yeah, we went there
because it was the Geary Fest this weekend.
Well, we just stopped in there to eat because I went to the national concert at the Budweiser stage. So
the what concert?
The National. It's a band I really like.
Oh, the National. Yeah. I used to have that record, The Boxer.
Yeah, that's the one. That's for one of their first.
Because I wasn't a big National fan of that.
Oh, really?
That's
so good.
But I wish I see it for sale. Like I'll go to the record store. It's like, hey, there's that record I sold. I'm like, I should have kept it. A black record with the yellow line.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, but I just did that recently. I kind of unloaded a bunch of my records. I still have like nearly 1,000, but I just had a bunch of old ones that family had given me over the years.
You're gonna get the tour.
Oh,
look at this stupidity.
Oh yeah, that looks like my setup. Pretty much exactly the same.
And then it's overflowed into here and here. You know, there's my stereo. Check that out.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, man. I got into stupid over COVID, started collecting like vintage stereos.
Oh, really?
So yeah. If you're ever into that, because really cheap stuff can be got on Facebook Marketplace. And I mean stuff that's kind of like really amazing shit that they don't make as good anymore, and it's cheap.
Yeah. A buddy of mine,
honestly,
a mine's a big audiophile as well.
I could find you a great turntable for $100. I'll find you a great amp for $100, a pair of speakers for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just excellent stuff, like made in the USA, kind of. You know?
A buddy of mine's a big audiophile, and he has these, I can't remember the name of them, but they're these floor model speakers that are like the super, super high end that cost like, I don't know, like $1,000 or something, that he ended up getting at like the pawn shop. I live in Nova Scotia, at the pawn shop down the street from where we are for like a couple $100, you know, and it's like just insanity.
There's stuff out there like Canadian speakers are unbelievable. If you could find like old Paradigms or PSBs or Mission, or I subscribe to this really weird company called Angstrom. They were made in like Cambridge, Ontario. You know, yeah, I didn't show you the amps. Check it out.
Oh baby, this is awesome.
They're in the fireplace.
Oh wow, that is so cool.
These are two they're two stereo amps, but I bought these kits on eBay and soldered them and turned them into monoblocks. Wow. So 200 watt stereo, when you bridge it and make it just mono, it becomes 300 watts.
Wow.
So I basically have 300 watts powering this speaker and 300 watts powering that guy. Wow. Now, it's not so much about it being loud, but when it is loud, it's quiet. Do you know what I mean? Like when the silent part in the song comes on, it is silent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, even though it's like cranked.
Yeah.
When it's quiet, it's quiet.
You're not getting that reverb.
That's what the power is about, really.
That's awesome, man. I have a lot of respect for people that can do that, like soldering all that stuff yourself and doing all that work. Like,
I'm a weirdo. I'm a fix-it guy. Like I string my own tennis rackets. I have a racket stringer. I can install a toilet. I can, you know, I nerd out on stuff. And I when I say nerd, like I'll find like a little hobby and I'll just go fucking nuts on it until I get bored with it and I move on to the next thing. But you know, yeah, like records, vintage stereos,
Yeah.
my guitars. Like I used to, I play guitar, but over COVID, I got more into fixing them. So
Mhm.
I've refretted my guitars. Pull the frets out, hammer new ones in, press new ones in.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
I'm scared. I'm scared
Guitar
to even
sounds,
restring my
like all
guitar.
that stuff. Yeah,
That's beautiful. Oh
but
man.
I'm a nerd. Like I love nerdy shit.
Have you
Like
always been that way? Like growing up?
um, I used to take my toys apart to my
Ah,
mother's, like, because you wouldn't get many toys, right?
yeah.
Like back in the 70s,
Hmm.
you get some shit on your birthday and Christmas, and that's it. It's not like now where adults now have all this shit behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Right?
yeah.
Like you didn't. I had to kind of give up toys at 12 because that's what you did.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? You were almost forced to.
Yeah.
Do you know, like you start getting interested in girls and then you get your license, and like I dumped skateboarding. You know what I mean? You sort of, but now it's different. Like you can hold on to these things. You
Mhm.
don't have to necessarily grow up, which I think kind of makes it a bit confusing for everyone. Like honestly, like, but I'm rediscovering it. But I do other things. Like I nerd out on stuff, dude. Fashion, architecture,
Oh,
that's
awesome.
stupid, like modern furniture. Like stereos, guitars. Like
That's
I do
awesome.
whatever I want.
I think it's a generational thing in a sense that like, because like my parents, that generation would be like, they don't really understand. They didn't understand any of that stuff. It was always like you say, when you hit a certain age, you stop, you put away the childish things, you
Yeah,
become an
exactly.
adult. And even
Exactly.
like my dad never even understood the childish things because he was like the kid that was hunting in the woods his whole life and never really did any of that. Like going out in the woods and hunting, that
Yeah.
was his
Our
world.
parents also needed to struggle a bit more than we did. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
The further back you go, there's no silver platters unless you're in the royal family or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had this conversation with some of the show before that there was like I think there's like a level of resentment somehow when like you're because my dad was always very much like, you should be out working, you should be out doing this, you should be out doing that. And it's
Was he
almost like
immigrant or like are
no,
you guys
no,
from
no,
here?
no, totally super,
Like
super from
British, English, generational,
French, like Acadian
French?
French, yeah, would be dad's kind of although I did one of those DNA tests and it was like predominantly Irish is what most of the DNA was.
Yeah,
So,
that was my wife. She was hoping she'd get like Native Indian or something, but she was
yeah.
kind of she did it just like Irish, Scottish, like
Yeah,
something
so
like that. I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
mine just came back and just said white basically. It's just like
yeah,
super like
yeah. You were
just
hoping for something, but no.
well, there's some like Portuguese in there, which I think
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and Sardinian, which is kind of interesting, but nothing nothing too overtly. I think there's
Yeah.
like a small amount. My dad has I think it's Métis status, so there's a small amount of indigenous in there and some other stuff, but
Oh, okay. That's
nothing
all
too
right. That's good.
yeah, a small amount. I didn't bother applying for it because it's mostly only for hunting stuff, and it's never really been my bag doing that. I'm too much of an animal guy. I can't handle it.
I think
But
everybody kind of wants to get a bit of native so they can get like, oh, I can get a card, like no taxes or something like that.
yeah,
Move to the States now.
yeah, it's that's kind of the it's almost like people think it's some kind of golden ticket, like the Willy Wonka thing. That if you can get
Yeah,
that,
it's
you're
like a
just
lottery. It's like
yeah, you're
a
like
lottery
free to pay no tax and anything and just run
in this
around and
country. Yeah.
yeah,
Especially if you didn't know. Like you kind of had a regular growing up.
yeah,
And maybe you're middle class to rich. Like you can imagine what
yeah,
a lottery that would be if you're already rich. And then you find, oh,
yeah, yeah. That's amazing.
I'm moving to California.
Yeah. Hand me my casino. Let's go.
Yeah, like, wow,
Yeah, that's funny.
do I get these taxes back?
Yeah, yeah. Hand them back, please. I think I'm owed this. Thank you.
Yeah, imagine. What a
That's funny.
fucking lottery. Anyway,
Oh no, that's amazing. Well, do you grow up in Toronto? Was that home for you as you
it
grew up?
was. My parents immigrated in 65.
Mhm.
So like early, like early. And I was born here in 71 in Scarborough General Hospital.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I've been here my whole life. Like, if you heard me on the phone, you'd be like, oh, one of us.
Yeah.
But no,
Where'd your folks immigrate from?
they immigrated from the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
My mother was a nurse, like the typical Filipino nurse.
Hmm.
But my father, he he just kind of like would work at whatever he could get, but like legit work, you know. He
Yeah.
was like accounting at one firm and then this, and eventually became a high school teacher.
Wow.
Fell into that a few years into this country, and he was there. Both my parents were at their jobs for 35 years, bro, like 35 years.
Wow. Even
You know?
that's kind of a rarity in our modern society to have someone in a job for a decade.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that sort of do-it-yourself sort of thing, was that something your dad sort of instilled in you a bit? Like when something was broken, you had to fix it. You had to.
I gotta fucking tell you, man. I look at a lot of things I do, and like the singing and performing and stuff. I think, you know, the wherewithal to do it and not care comes from my father. Because if you saw me karaoke, like, this is terrible, bro. You know, but my mother could sing. You know what I mean? There's that. But the fix it stuff, they were not inclined in that at all. At all. Like my mother would call me, like, oh, this isn't working. Like, I don't know what it was. Like I said, I used to take apart my $6 million man toys. And like, I remember I would just do dumb shit because I was just really interested in how things worked.
Yeah.
I remember I had an Oscar Goldman desk, like a mission desk from $6 Million Man.
Yeah.
And it was a desk with this long white cord with like a little alarm. So if someone broke into the desk, the little alarm would go bing. And I remember like pulling this thing off and like shaving the wires and going, what if I put these two into the wall? You know, like, what? You know? And I did, and I did. I remember the desk just going, like it literally blew up. Something like it blew up, like it sparked, and there was smoke, and I blew up my my Oscar Goldman mission desk. And I would take stuff apart, but at the same time, like I remember, you know, fast forward to the 2000s where my mother's like, CD player's broken. And I'm like, okay. And then I just open it up and see that disc cut stuff or the belt fell off. So, you know, I was always that guy. So
Nice.
even in my old age, I try to take it to different levels, but it's like at one point you go, I'm not an engineering student. You know? Like I'm, you know, like, yeah, I turn those amps into monos, but I can only solder because like I used to solder my own guitar pickups. Like, you know what I mean? That's where that daringness comes from. Like, oh, I did this, maybe I could do this. It's always like, if I'm doing something new, it's always kind of scary because it's like, this might fail, but less and less with YouTube. You know, that's one thing I use the internet for.
Yeah.
You can do anything now.
100%.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
That's why
tools and materials, right?
That's why I find it interesting, because like that type of personality, like the you know, there's an excitement to it, but an eagerness to it, but also like you know, the get up and go to go do that. It's like there's almost no excuse in our modern society for anyone to not
you just need to be
do your own
daring
thing.
enough to go, this might fuck up.
Yeah.
What's the worst that, like, you know, but you gotta just not be scared to like fail.
Yeah.
Like to learn, to understand learning is failing. And the more you fail, the more you will learn. But when things are at stake, like a CD player, you know what I mean? People are less and less daring to open something up. When I see something broken, I see an opportunity to learn how to fix it. Like even my vacuum is, it's not like a Dyson. It's an old fucking American door-to-door salesman vacuum. Actually, if you watch Mr. Mom, the movie, the vacuum that attacks him, it's that. It's called a Kirby. And it's been basically the same vacuum since the 50s with some stuff like change, but basically the same. It's a vacuum, you know, and I believe in like they don't make stuff like they used to. And this thing I can fix myself with parts now you can buy on Amazon. You know, which makes it even easier to learn how to, and it's a simple machine. It looks like a 57 Chevy. It's made out of metal. You know, it's 28 pounds. But I've had that thing fall down the stairs and it was still going on, you know, fell down the stairs. You know what I mean? It's not full of plastic. It's not full of computer boards, which you don't need for a vacuum. You know what I mean? When I see toasters with computer boards, I'm like, you know, I'm always like the guys like, what is the toaster the restaurant uses that makes toast all fucking day? And that's the toaster I want. Yeah.
Some friends of mine have one of those fridges with a huge TV that like keeps track of what's in the fridge and shows up. I'm
Yeah,
like, that seems like a lot of extra steps just to look into my fridge. Like look into my fridge with the camera instead of opening the door, just like, okay, what's in there? Like it's like
right.
it's amazing amount of steps that I'm just like, I don't know. Like there's a, note board on it and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, a whiteboard with a thing will do the same.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. And my funny, my father-in-law and my wife's my wife's father
mhm,
has an old Frigidaire ice box. This
mhm.
thing's like an antique. It's just a
Yep.
piece of wood with these handles and a tray at the bottom that you would fill with ice.
Mhm.
It's literally an ice box. Like it's an ice box.
Yeah.
And that's what they used as fridges, you know what I mean? And
Wow. That's amazing.
it's like, yeah, if it's a computer, okay, I get it. If it's a
Yeah.
rocket ship, I get it. You need all this stuff. But if it's a vacuum or a toaster, I opt for, you know, I regret not buying this brand new bun coffee machine at a Value Village. Like that's the other thing. I'm a huge thrifter. Like that.
Yeah, I am too. We went to when I was in Toronto, I went to
Oh, I'm
this.
sure.
Well, he lives in Alliston, so I went to some place that was near there that's like some big flea market they have every Saturday and Sunday,
Oh,
which is mountains of like walls of it's just like a giant store, but you kind of pick the thing you want, bring it to the front, or it's in a booth where everybody's set up.
wow.
But it was there's so much of that stuff there, antique, like all these like I'm a book guy and records
Oh,
and stuff
so
like
good.
that. So just
Yeah.
going through books and records and like I collect movies too, like Blu-rays and stuff, so looking for ones of those that I like. So yeah, it was
Yeah, like
interesting.
I could throw things at you where it would ruin your life if I told you, get a Laserdisc player.
Oh wow.
And that's a whole other world you're gonna find yourself in. Like it just
Whoa.
gives you new life at the VV. It's like these stupid hobbies you get.
Yeah.
But VV's like there's always something you could find, like whether it's a lamp or a piece
Oh
of
yeah.
furniture or fucking a record, or I found, like, you saw my reel to reels.
Yeah.
I reel to reels of stuff,
That's so cool.
oh God, like on and on, on and on. I was going there for stereos when I was like I stopped. I had to stop, but
Mhm.
I have stereos downstairs that all kinds of stuff. CD players. I'm buying CDs. I've said fuck the records because I've run out of room, and B, you can't find anything anymore.
Mhm.
And I don't like paying, like going to the record store and buying a brand new. Like I would rather, when I first started this, oh the shit it was like, maybe we're running on almost 10 years ago. I
Mhm.
started with the vinyl at VV. Sometimes I'd walk out with a stack like this that was like Bowie and weird fucking and Pink Floyd and
Mhm.
but no,
Yeah.
done,
Well,
dude.
CDs are now the records of a couple years ago, like
Oh, I'm
or
grabbing everything. All
like
my
like
hair
I
metal, like I grab like Anthrax, like I'll find, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I can go to the local thrift shop here and they have like all
are
the
you
CD.
recording, by the way?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet, sweet.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, look,
Oh
we
yeah,
have
no, we're recording from the start. I'll cut it in after somewhere. Um, but you go to the store like the locally and there's like all the CDs. There's this part of my brain that's like how much I struggled as a kid, like a teenager, early teenager, to get the money to buy like Big Shiny Tunes 3 or 4 or whatever one I
bro,
wanted,
like
and they're all there for like 50. You get 5 for a dollar.
$1.99.
Yeah,
Not only that, I sold all my records
yeah.
to buy CDs,
Hmm.
which then were useless. I kept
Yeah,
most of them. A lot I sold. And now
yeah.
I'm buying CDs again. Like I fucked myself twice. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Now
dude, you're
I'm buying
preaching to the
CDs, and
crier.
I'm like, I was just trying to get rid of these about maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
But then I got, like, CD players are the same as vinyl. Like
Hmm.
they all have these things called DACs. I don't know how well versed you are in this stupid technology, but they're the digital DACs are digital audio converters.
Hmm.
And that's where you get that stereo sound. Like it'll convert the ones and zeros into analog.
Yeah.
So the further back you go and the more expensive the CD player is, they're worth saving and fixing.
Hmm.
If they have these DACs, even the early iPods, people are saving and spending $500 on because they have these digital audio converters from this company called Wolfson that those first gen iPods are being collected because of that DAC.
Oh, I'm glad I still got mine.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
like, look it up. See what digital audio converters in that old iPod, and it's worth something. And it's not even worth something like to sell, but
Yeah.
get it working again. Because you'll hear that, like, that's what, that's like analog's always about finding that sweet
Yeah.
sound. whether it's a record or tape.
Yeah, I think that's why, well, I like the ritual of records because it's like, I mean, I like the idea of, it's easy when you collect physical media like records and Blu-rays and stuff like I do for everyone to just say, well, it's all on streaming. It's like, yes, and I get that. And I totally understand that. It's fine. But there's something about the rich, like how much you care about something to actually put the money into buying
Yeah,
it. If
passion for it.
yeah, and how much the ritual of doing it, taking it out, looking at the artwork, you know.
I concur completely. Like, because like, you know, music was worth so much to me when I was a kid because what it took to find something that you were into, and then go get it. Like, I would have to listen to CFNY, be introduced to something. What the fuck is that? Get on the bus, go to the record store, ask if they have it, or listen to what they're playing at the record store and go, what's this? And then buying it. Like, it was a ritual. It was work. You had to work for your music.
Yeah.
It's now it's just, you know what I mean? So, but to have something like music, which people don't understand, like, you know, cures your soul, it affects you.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll make you emotional. You need to give it that merit to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if we're just making it disposable, then what are we doing with music? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think I saw somewhere that was like, this generation doesn't understand the struggle of buying a full album for $20 because of that one song you heard on the radio, hoping that all the other 19 songs or the 11, 12 songs were just as good. So, you know, it's like, for sure, you know, like I was big into, but I was like real young, like not real young, but when I was like a teenager. I was born in 85. So judge the time there.
But still, not too bad, man. I'll tell anyway, go on.
Yeah, but around like the early 2000s, I was really into like late 90s, early 2000s. It was like all metal music, new metal music. So it was like Korn and Disturbed and all those sort of bands.
Yeah.
And it was just
metal.
like, new metal. Yeah. Monster Magnet and all those kind of guys. Some of which I still kind of like when I'm working out, but you know, your efforts your taste sort of progress as you get older.
Right.
But yeah, you know,
there's still magic to the era.
Yeah.
You know, a big part of it, I think, is to look back and understand why it meant so much to you at the time.
Yes.
And then go, okay, like, I get it. That's why I got that tattoo. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it was like the outside, like I was a big nerd, and you know, to me it was sort of like all the cool kids weren't listening to that. So it was sort of like a way to be like, this is, and I liked the music, but it was like to
be part of the group too.
Yeah, you get a subgroup,
like-minded. Yeah, to be an animal.
Yeah.
And to congregate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is it's a base instinct. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, well, as a kid, you said music was a big part of your childhood. So when did you start playing? Was that right off the get-go, or did that come later?
When did I start playing music?
Yeah.
The guitar was, well, honestly, probably just like at that age, you're just driven by chicks. It was probably
that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like, but how did the playing start? Maybe let's backtrack, and I'll try and keep this quick. No. But music for me started by stealing my older sister's records. And we're talking about mid 80s, and she was into, like, I was stealing like Susie and the Banshees records and ABC and all this, like to give it a name, you're talking about new wave or new romantic music.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm trying to like think of the names, like, you know, Yaz and ABC, and you know, so I got to start Duran.
Oh yeah.
You know, but then that got me started, and she hated me because I was like stealing her records. But when you're young, you need inspiration, right? You need you need something to follow. So, you know what I mean? And it was your music. So that's where the music started.
That's awesome.
So then I went off on my own, and now I'm listening to like Sisters of Mercy and Killing Joke and Bauhaus and Alphabet, like all that. I was maybe 12 years old, starting to get into music during that new romantic phase of the 80s.
That's awesome. Alphaville's one awesome. I want to revisit, so I'm glad you mentioned them. I just kind of discovered them, and that's like something I want to go back on a deep dive on. Alphaville.
Stay right there.
Okay.
Stay right there.
I think I heard Big in Japan on something, and I was like, this is the I got to check out more about this band.
Okay. So first concert I ever went to was, and this is the program I bought when I was like, 12.
Wow.
Duran,
Nice.
That's the program from the concert, my first concert ever.
I
was
miss when they
12
used to
years
sell
old.
programs at concerts. They don't do
I
that
still
anymore.
have the poster that
That's
came with
awesome.
it. You
The
know,
Coca-Cola ad.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's my ticket.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Maple Leaf Gardens. Like, how much is that ticket? Like $13. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I
That's
still have
awesome.
this, man. Like, I'm a nerd. Like
Yeah.
that's my first concert ever was Duran Duran for Seven in the Ragged Tiger tour,
Wow.
the original program. I still. Oh, hold on.
This is awesome.
Yeah, you're getting like a little. Where is it? Did I? Oh, here. No, I actually brought it with me. It is here. Susie and the Banshees, 1980.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And I don't know where that. Yeah, that ticket's here, International Center,
Mhm.
like 1980 something, and by the
84. Yeah. July 10th.
But like, I'll let you read this. This was one I don't have a program or anything, but I stapled it to this program. Look at this fucking ticket, dude.
Clash. Oh my God. That's amazing.
Second concert I ever went to.
Wow.
Message reggae band opened up, but it was full on Joe Strummer and bro. Like, that's one of those ones. And I also went to the Smiths
Oh,
at
wow.
Kingswood in Canada's Wonderland, which I found out later they only came here like once or
Mhm.
twice or something ridiculous, right?
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's the music I was into, and then I went into now I'm off on my own. Like
Mhm.
like my sister started me on the new romantic stuff, and then I started skateboarding.
Mhm.
So now I'm into punk, and
Mhm.
especially like LA punk from the 80s.
Yeah.
So Circle Jerks and Suicidal Tendencies and Gangrene, and not so much from California, but Black Flag and Dead Kennedys. And I'm skateboarding and like listening to punk music.
Yeah.
So I went through that phase. And then I remember there was a record store here in Toronto on Carlton Street. It was called the Record Peddler. And there was this guy named Brian, who's a bald, like skinhead looking guy
Mhm.
who always looked mad and tough. And you were kind of like, but he was always playing stuff I liked, right? When I was into the skateboarding shit. And I would always buy what he was into. Like, what are you playing? Is it here? And I was that nerd kid follower kid of this guy that worked at the record store. Typical story. If you watch All Things Must Pass by have you ever seen that documentary
No.
about Tower Records?
Oh, I heard of it, but I haven't watched it. No, I want to.
Oh my God, please
Yeah.
take your time to watch that. It was done by Tom Hanks's kid.
Oh,
And
Colin.
it will kind of like give you a bit of insight into where I came from. But anyways, that's where you got your musical influences from. The guy working at the record store.
Yeah.
Cool. And is he there today? What's he playing? And then I would literally go in there and go, what else should I get? And he would, and those records I wish I kept. Like, it
Yeah.
was the stuff I was buying, like these hardcore bands like the Straw Dogs, and like it was just badass.
I
Anyway,
think
so I went through that period.
Yeah.
And one day I go in and I'm into fast punk music, and he's playing the fastest song I've ever heard. And I go, what's this? And he pulls out Metallica, Kill 'Em All. He showed,
Mhm.
and I was like, huh? Like, I'm a punk skater punk, right?
Yeah.
Flip it, and these guys look like they're from Scarborough, like these rocker dudes.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And then that became my thing into metal, and that's when I started guitar, and
Wow.
even made me reach back into stuff where, like, I'm buying Led Zeppelin 4 on CD, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my dad had this album. That was always in our album collection, but I didn't know what it was, because if you remember Led Zeppelin 4, it doesn't say Led Zeppelin, it's like that old guy on the cover.
Yeah.
And that, you know what I mean? So that's when that started. Probably I started playing guitar at 15, 16,
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that, like, just, I think Back in Black was the first thing I learned how to play. Like, you had to learn how to, like, oh, I can get this sound with a distortion pedal. I remember renting a distortion pedal, renting a guitar, and then hitting those 3 chords, and then I was sold after that.
where you're
And my parents didn't play instruments. I
no?
honestly, I don't know. I kind of created myself in this place.
That's awesome. Were
Yeah.
your parents supportive of you, like getting into, like, I mean, I guess you did go into the performing arts in one way or another. So were they supportive
Mm,
of that sort of goal for you, or was it
no,
just no?
no,
No, I know.
no. They
I don't
were
want to be stereotypical, but most immigrant families, when I talk to people
no.
that come from that, their parents are
Yeah,
like, "You should be a doctor or a lawyer," and
you
that's
should
it.
be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and that was the idea. And I went to private school.
Hmm.
Like even though I had like I'm telling you, high school teacher and a nurse, but they somehow afforded to send me and my sister to some of the best schools. Like
Wow.
not always. Like I
Hmm.
actually first started off in public school, then moved to Scarborough for a while, came back to my old public school, and then by grade 7, I went to a place called Upper Canada College,
Hmm.
which is a private school here, and got kicked out in 10th grade.
What'd
So
you
you can
do?
sort of see my story go from doctor, lawyer, and I was smart enough to make it in the school in 6th grade, but my school just kind of went like this, ending with dropping out of university after first year,
Mhm.
you know. But right away working at YTV.
Yeah.
Like
So
that
how?
summer, I was going to tell my parents, like, I'm not going back to school.
So
And
the YTV job was sort of
and then
your
they
excuse out.
Well, yeah, like it was, but the thing is, I also, it's a long story, but I actually worked for them in high school
Oh,
as a part-time reporter for a show called YTV Rocks. I did maybe 5 stories, and that was like the first foray into television for me. And I
mhm.
think it's on my YouTube, like some, my early stuff.
Mhm.
What was like, what are the cool jeans, or like,
Yeah.
I auditioned to be a co-host for that show, YTV Rocks, but I didn't get it, and
Mhm.
they gave it to 2 other people. But they said, would you be interested in being a reporter and do a couple of stories? And I was like, yeah. And this was last year of high school. Then I went away to university, and I didn't. I thought I think I maybe I don't know if like I can't remember thinking about I want to do that, but I always wanted to kind of do something like that when I was
Mhm.
since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know what made me think I could do it, but I never felt like I'll never be able to like. I think I could do that.
Yeah.
I still feel like that with things. Like I don't know if you saw, like I started wrestling training like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, I
I'm
can do
a
that. I think
I'm
I
a
could do that.
I'm a professional wrestler as well. So I was
Oh,
impressed by
yeah,
that. I
that's
am,
right.
yeah. Yeah, I wrestle
And
out here in the Maritimes.
so what fucking 51-year-old? But I'll tell you, I didn't really understand what I was doing going in. You know what I mean? Like
Did
if you're
nobody
a
show you
real
any
wrestler,
ropes or
you
some
know.
training? Yeah. Did nobody show you any, like, you didn't go through training or anything? You just were like, I'm gonna go wrestle
I
some.
did.
Okay. All
But
right.
even that, like the thing is, like I didn't grow. I sort of grew up with wrestling. Like I remember Blackjack Mulligan, and I
Yeah, oh,
loved
yeah.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and maybe at the end, but I never got serious into it. Where now I look at my friends and they're them showing me pictures of them at like WrestleMania 1. Like I never got that deep into it.
Hmm.
And but to give you the story of that one, my wife and I, her friends, for their kid's birthday, we're going to now I understand as a dark show.
Hmm.
Like when I went to it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be on TV, it's wrestling, right? You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
completely kind of ignorant of what wrestling had become. Do you know? And I'm talking about 20 fucking just after COVID, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't know wrestling. And now that I know wrestling, it's deeper than anything.
Hmm.
It's about as deep as fucking Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's a real art
okay,
to it.
so I'm 51 or whatever. Okay, and we go to this dark show. Now I understand it as a dark show
Hmm.
at the Coca-Cola Coliseum,
Hmm.
right? We see it, and after being cooped up for so long, now I'm in a place where like everybody knows this song. You know what I mean? Like when they're singing,
Yeah.
like Seth Rollins will come out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
and then the one like the falsies, the two
Yeah. Yeah.
counts and shit. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
they're like 1, 2, oh, like I know I'm in a building sharing this beautiful sentiment of and not understanding a lot of it and thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how do they all know this? Oh, this
Yeah.
is fun, like, and as a performer, I look and who's been in a band,
Hmm.
like that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
I'm like, and who's been? I've done movies, I've tried acting, I've done it, and now I'm here like as a fucking fan of wrestling and going, this has it all. It's like, that's SNL. Like,
Yeah.
this club has it all. Like,
Yeah.
it has physicality, it has
Yeah.
acting, everybody's into it. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't even, you know what I mean? And we enjoyed it. Cut to, we get home and we get fucking WWE channel. You know what I mean? Like, straight to Rogers. Like, we want to see WrestleMania. I think it was the lead up to WrestleMania.
Yep.
So now we wanted to watch it. So that all starts. And the thing is, there's a small, if you're a wrestler, do you know Super Kicked and Chris Chambers?
Yeah.
So Chris Chambers is the little brother of a friend of mine that when I moved back from LA, I was his sister. Like, we would party all the time, go like partying. And that's how I met Chris, like maybe in 2012. He was into wrestling and I would have conversations with him. This is like 2012 about wrestling. And I was like, wow, he really wants to do this. He had the long hair. He's built, you know what I mean? So I ran into him. So I cut to after this whole experience at Coca-Cola Coliseum. It's the summertime and I run into him and I tell him, man, like, we went to wrestling and I know, are you involved in wrestling still? He's like, yeah, I run this promotion called Super Kicked. I was like, oh, like maybe I could, like, I wanted to do something. So my idea was, I want to do a Rick Boots thing. Like, I just want to come in with the guitar. I play guitar. That's one thing I do. I play guitar. I'll play guitar. I'll fucking get the fucking crowd amped up a bit. And that'll be it. Like, that was what I wanted to do. Because I wanted to get, like, I could kind of get involved in it a little bit. Right? Yeah. So he's like, yeah. And Chris now I look back at it, the guy's like it might as well have been Vince McMahon. I think he had a plan all along because he knows that I'd been on TV. Now I'm interested in this. So, he's like, yeah, come by and do that. And then Stratosphere will hit you. You just hit the ground and you'll take your guitar and that'll be it. Like, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Now, now I'm looking back at it. Oh, that's a spot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, no, he had a plan.
Oh, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Now I look back at it. That's a spot.
And that can't go unanswered. So there's going to be more. You're going to have to get back and get revenge. And it's all there's a
dude. Like but I'm a child at this point.
Yeah,
I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Now I understand it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, now I get it. And he fucking hooked me and then just kept like pulling the string a little bit. And it was like, I did that. And then there's like, hey, you should come by training. Just come by and see. And then I did. I was like, oh, okay. I went by and I'm like, I check out a training session with students. And I'm like, oh, I think I could do a somersault. You know what I mean? I can do a somersault. I could these ropes, like I could. And he's like, why don't you try some training? Come look on me, come try some training.
Yeah. And
then I come back and he's not even there. And now I'm like, oh, there's a teacher and he doesn't know. And like, these are people that they're trying to be wrestlers. And like, this is a dream. It's a dream to even be part of a small spot in a little indie. I'm realizing this now.
Yeah.
But cut to me then, like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I can do this. Yeah.
I'll come to training. And then I went once. But what I loved about it was I challenged myself and my body got broken down, man. I'm 51 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're starting when most people have either retired already or about to retire.
Already.
Yeah, or about to retire.
Watching later on, like on YouTube, a documentary about Hulk Hogan after he got his divorce and now he's trying to make money. And he went back to the wrestling world. And he's trying to do ropes, he's trying to do bumps, and he's like, and they're interviewing, he's like, well, I don't think I can do ropes anymore. I can't bump. And I look back and
he didn't do a lot of bumping before.
I went to Wiki and he was like, he was 46.
Yeah, I know,
I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, and the more I did it, I was like, what am I doing?
Well, there's a level of
I like challenging myself. I'm an idiot that I can do this. I'm gonna try this. And then training was enjoyable because I was challenging myself physically. Dude, the first week I'd come home from training just like, hey Phil, what do you want for dinner? Huh? Like, I was so, my brain had never been jarred like that. I've never been physically, like you're talking about controlled beatings,
Yes. Yep.
um,
All the
cells
time.
rebuilding,
Yep.
not being able to get up in the morning, you know, that
Well,
kind of
you're
shit.
taught your whole life to run from pain, right? Like,
Yeah,
you don't want to,
they train your body. Oh
yeah.
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 Like,
And then you go into wrestling and it's pain, pain, pain. You know, it's going to be it's going to hurt. And that's what people always ask me. They're like, that must hurt. They're like, yeah, it does. Like it does.
yeah.
But
So my story
you
with
work
that,
through it.
what you're talking about is the first time I did a stunner
Okay.
to 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 fucking teach my legs to go like this.
Yeah. And sit.
My
Yeah.
body wouldn't let it happen.
Mhm.
My one leg would be like, nope. You know, my one leg would refuse to come up.
Yeah.
I had to train my one leg to put myself through that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was the hardest thing to teach my one leg to go up to.
Oh yeah, like
know what I
any
mean?
flips off the top. Like I do a frog splash and I do an overcat, like a blockbuster sometimes off the top,
Bro.
and like that's that like to throw your abandon with your body and just trust that you're going to land in the right spot and it's going to go all right is it's quite a leap
Yeah.
for your brain and your body kind of in between.
To teach yourself how to do that, man, it's unlike. And also, I'm just because my wife's working and I'm getting some ice at the fridge. To teach yourself how to do that, it's so unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
Your body tells you to do exactly the opposite, but at the same time, now I know how to fall if I slip on ice.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
spread out your body.
I was watching. I'm a big tennis fan. I was watching this one tennis player went down, and he injured his wrist. Right, because these idiots, right, think they can break their fall with one hand.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And no, bro, you need to learn how to bump. You know, but to train yourself to, you know, and tuck your chin, like it's so unnatural.
Well, there's a frenetic energy to wrestling, just in the idea of like
I'm drinking a bit.
Absolutely
you'll get a better interview.
Encouraged. So yeah, because like even just watching old clips from when you were on YTV, there's like a frenetic, like you could tell some of that just seemed off the cuff. Like they must have just put at the camera and said like, you have so much time to kill. Like I watched the clip that was you talking about getting a ticket for driving without your license. And you like walked and you like.
I'll tell you something. That was because, and it was easier to do it back then, you know, like we had so much time to fill sometimes. We didn't have writers.
Yeah.
Now you would never be able to do that.
Yeah, I assume they just pointed and said talk, right?
And they wouldn't even watch us. Like the producers would have the TV on in their office, but with the volume down. And they would just get it and they would trust that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I had to fill 7 minutes. Now, what can I talk about? Well, I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in my life, you know, but I'm 20, you know what I mean? I'm 21. So here was the funny thing. I was forced to do it, but it ended up being a good thing because here's a guy on TV. And I look back at this. Yeah, like the kids, the parents liked it because, and I remember them telling me this all the time. What I like is you teach my kids that it's okay to make a mistake. Like I would flub up, but you know, that's life. You know, you know, like the market, you know, like I didn't have time to like, you know, like there was here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't worry about this. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that stuff because we had no writers. And I had to fill 7 minutes. Sometimes, bro, we didn't know what we were going to talk about. On live, like you're on in 10, 9, and I would, you know, who the puppeteer who did Snit, he was, his name was Atul. And we forged a great friendship. We would laugh. We had the same sense of humor. You know what I mean? And that's what you were seeing. Yeah. You know, and he would be there, and it's like a hard count to live, like in like 7, 6, 5. And I literally say to him, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about movies. All right, welcome back. Hey, did you see a movie? And then and luckily I did so much of it that, and I do this with my interviews. Look at our interviews. They're conversations, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what the show is. This is perfect.
so fucking important too, because conversations means you're listening.
Mhm.
You know, I've been around professional interviewers where they trip, man. Like all they're doing is the celebrity is answering their question. They're not even listening. All they're doing is trying to remember what the next question is.
Yeah, exactly.
And this celebrity could say, and that's when a goat headbutted me, and they'll be like, "Wow." So working in like, how?
Yeah.
So
No, that's why I do it this way, because I've always wanted to say it. Like I wanted to feel like it's two guys that you meet listen to two people meet at a party and learn about each other. Like that's how you learn the best about people, who naturally they are, when you have an engaging conversation with them.
Absolutely.
It's not just
you got to force yourself to listen.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you were seeing. There were conversations between me and the puppet, who's really my buddy Atul.
That's awesome.
And I loved like we called it breaking the third wall, right? Like the you know, he's a and my producers would hate it, but he's supposed to be an alien from outer space.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you drove in this morning in your Toyota. I noticed there's like tape wrapped around your mirror. And he would be there like, oh. Like, do I talk about this? Will I get in trouble? But he would love it. He would laugh and that was my big thing. And you would see it with Paul. My thing with Paul, whenever we were on together, would be just me trying to make him laugh so uncontrollably that he wouldn't be able to perform. And that was like my goal whenever he was on, honestly. Like,
well, I think that bled through, you know, like there's that sort of candor that comes with people that know each other. There's like an energy to that I kind of feel like bled through when you guys would perform.
And also I was in my 20s on a kids channel, and I always had this weird insecurity hang up of, I should be on Much Music. I want to do that. Like the things I was into was not what my work was into.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was into porn, and you know, I wanted to go interview Korn.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. Do you know what I mean? And there was always this weird hang up with me, like almost like shameful and puppets. Like I don't like, you know, I felt like I don't want to grow up. Like I want to be a real boy. You know?
Do you find that sort of faded as the years went on, and you meet people that like were influenced by your show and had some kind of an impact on them? I'm sure you get that.
What you mean, like real influencing?
Yeah, like people that come up to you and say your show. Influencing. Yeah.
So you know, from top to bottom, like I started playing guitar because of you. The guitar player from Annihilator, who's like on tour with Annihilator right now, is like, I got into guitar because of you. Like, because like, remember, I was taking my guitar on. Yeah. I was playing like Rage Against the Machine. Like, you know what I mean? I tried to push it because I wanted to be on Much Music. So I think it's kind of better for you guys, because I was like talking about
it's like your audition tape.
Like, you know?
It's your audition tape for Much Music while you're you know.
Yeah, it was almost like that. I wanted so hard to be an adult that I kind of like shared it with you guys, like, and I told you, like,
but the thing is,
insurance, man.
Well, that's what kids like.
They'll give you this thing called a 48-hour notice. Then you have 48 hours to show up at the cop shop with your insurance. I'm teaching wisdom. I get a lot of people saying like, "No, I get it." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, every kid wants to be an adult, right? So
you were right.
I think that really bleeds through, because every kid wants to be an adult, like they, you know. So if they're watching something that's also kind of like,
and you had an adult that wanted to be.
Exactly. And I'm like,
all in it together, man. Like, let me tell you, like,
I remember. I think when I was doing a little bit of research or trying to talk with you, I'd skimmed through some article, and there's something on Reddit which was some guy talking about you, and he said, he's like, man, PJ Phil taught me how to cash a cashier's check, man. When I was like 11 or something like that. And I was like, and I thought it just made me laugh so hard.
Are you serious? I don't remember that. That's the other thing, dude. I look at a lot of YouTube stuff, and I don't remember doing it. I will see an interview, me in Chicago interviewing someone. I'm like, I don't remember this person. I don't remember that trip.
Well, you're doing so much.
There I am, you know, which is a very weird thing. You telling me that story about the cashier's check, I don't remember it.
Well,
when I'm sitting here, I'm like, that sounds like something I do.
Yeah.
And I bet I was like probably talking about like I had to cash a check at Money Mart or something. So
Yeah.
I was probably like talking about it. So yeah, you just have to sign the back of the
Yeah. I love it. I think it's great. Like you don't get that kind of TV. Like YTV when I was a kid always had that sort of like I didn't have cable growing up. I grew up in a fairly rural area and my grandmother
It
had
was
it.
good
So
for you. I'm telling you, they weren't watching us, man.
yeah,
They like the bosses weren't watching.
Yeah.
They fucking let the kids run the island
Yeah.
in a weird way. And I think it was to their benefit because they wouldn't have been that company they are now if that wasn't happening. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, like, you know, sorry, but the house that Phil built, like,
Yeah, 100%.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, and
It didn't retain that.
Mm.
Right? It became very corporate. And that's when I left. Like I smelled that. And I was already there for 11 years and I was 30 years old. And I was like, there's, you know, I cannot do anything more here.
Mm-hmm.
I've hosted the NBA draft. I've done magazine shows co-produced by American companies that have let me work in California and travel here and do this. And I've covered the All-Star game, you know, the NBA All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
I've done movies. I've done live shows. I've been on stage to introduce Hanson. I've like, what else can I do here? Like I was done. Like there's no more learning here. And I was still young enough. And I still feel that way now, if you look at it, which is what the fucking wrestling was about, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was 11 years was enough, you know? And I just
it's time for a new adventure, you know.
I was like, I just wasn't learning anymore, man. I just wasn't. There was nothing more to be done there.
Yeah.
Like on television in Canada, can you imagine 30 years old? Like there's nothing more to do with this. And I ended up basically moving to California and starting all over again as a nobody. And I fucking took advantage. And it wasn't like I became a millionaire, but I became a millionaire in life experience. And if you want to talk about that, that's not really covered, you know, on YouTube. That almost 10 years I spent out there as a guy who came from television. Nobody knows who I am. You know what I mean? The first thing I did was join a band. Like you could sort of see all these things that I missed out on that I couldn't achieve, that I started trying to do. Like I wanted to be in Guns N' Roses when I was 16. Never happened. I ended up talking to puppets when I was 20.
Yeah.
But then now I'm okay. So this is after YTV years. I'm off the grid.
Yeah.
Okay. I moved to California. These guys that I met, I interviewed them at YTV. They were from Stomp, you know, the garbage cans and the
Yeah.
Now they are living in LA. They're all my friends. I move out there, and they're actors, drummers, you know, dancers. They're in that creative, and they're all in LA now. One of them was Ahmed Best, which
really? Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. He was
awesome.
You know,
I was very happy to see him get some more attention after being on The Mandalorian. It was a nice.
It's a long time coming. I'll tell you something, and if Ahmed ever hears this, but you know what? When we were friends, when we were all part of this gang, Ahmed, when you were around him, and he had just done the Jar Jar Binks thing, it was never spoken about.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I remember meeting him like one day, and he took jujitsu at Gracie, like, you know, and we just went for a coffee, but you never talked about it.
Yeah.
Because it was such a weird, sensitive thing, and it was a tough thing. Now, you know, again, this day and age, I'm reading about stuff. I was like, wow, I didn't know he was going through all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, because I was there.
Well, it's got to be like a lot of us have this sort of thing, like, oh, we can handle that, or we can, you know, it wouldn't bother me too much. But when you literally see everyone, like, you're an actor doing a job, right? Like, you're like the same with the kid that played Anakin in the first one, Jake Lloyd. Like, he went through a hard time too, and it's like Like, they're just, he's just a kid actor. Like Ahmed was probably just in his early 20s or something. He's a young guy.
But
Just,
we're all trying to make it. Like
yeah.
everybody was in Hollywood trying to kind of make it in
Yeah.
something. In fact, one of the other Stomp guys, like they wanted him for Jar Jar Binks. He didn't want it, and then
Really?
Ahmed. Like it was really weird. But anyways, yeah, Ahmed. And I look back at it, and yeah, it was he's to be an African American is something completely different than it's just it's its own thing.
Yeah.
To be in that country and to be African American. And part of I think the worst part of it was all that, you're playing a black character and it's you sold us out kind of like
Yeah.
I think it was the hardest thing for him.
Yeah.
But we never discussed it. This is just something now where I see things and I look back on it. I was talking to him a few months ago when I was visiting a friend, my one Stomp friend in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife and his kid were in Vegas, and I was hanging out with them, and we FaceTimed him back at. Yeah, I'm really glad it turned out great for him that way. That he found peace with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's.
And I didn't know what was going on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was there.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I didn't see him like a ton.
No,
but anyways, one of our buddies called me up, and anyways, another buddy of ours, Ivan, that was in Stomp. Right before I moved to LA, I got my visa and all that stuff. He was in a goth band in high school in Hawaii called Raised in Black, and they kicked out their guitar player. And the singer, who's a goth guy, came from the same age of me, of Guitar Hero 80s stuff. Mm-hmm. And the guitar parts were written like that. And actually, the guitar player they kicked out couldn't play, like, I don't know if you know guitar, like alternate picking. Mm-hmm. Chicka, 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 chicka. He would go like, chicka, 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 chicka. Like he didn't know, he would only do down to it. Yeah. It's hard to do it fast. So he's like, bro, I know you can play this stuff. We just kicked out our guitar player. Would you be interested? Like, Ramel just wrote a new album. We're going to tour it. Would you want to do this? And I was 31 or something, thinking about like preparing to move to LA. And what this would mean is I'd go early, go on tour, come back, and then get my visa and go. So I said yes. It was one of those things. So I was like, okay, and same thing. I didn't know what I was. Now that I look back on it, you're committing to being in a van pulling a trailer with five guys mm-hmm. Across the country, almost a show a night, trying to get to the next place. Pre-internet, pre-net, we had Yahoo Maps this thick printed out. We had cell phones. You'd pull into town, be lost. It was rough. But it was fucking awesome, dude. Like this, I got to live my rock and roll dream. Now I wasn't Slash, but I was in a goth band, playing the kind of stuff I wanted to play, but touring and being paid to play guitar for a band at 30. Awesome. At 30, and then after that, that's when that all started. Where I was like, I could do whatever I wanted. And when I was in LA, I did that. I tried stand up. My first, I did all three of the major things in LA, like the major places in stand-up.
Oh, really? It
was amateur night at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
I did also the Improv. I also did the Laugh Fucking Factory.
Wow.
Which is the
Yeah, 100%.
This night called Chocolate Sundays, which I had to wait 3 months for. And I tried that there back at a time where comedy was nowhere. I'll tell you, those nights, there were 10 people, nobody was doing comedy in 2004 and 5. Nobody was going to comedy. Nobody was trying it. There were no Netflix specials. Now I hear, to get on a Chocolate Sundays is you have to wait 3 years to get 6 minutes to do on that stage. Wow. And I'm talking about the same stage Will or, Kramer from Seinfeld fucking broke down and, that stage. So I can say I did all of those stages. What else? I was taking hip-hop class from Justin Timberlake's hip-hop dance class from Justin Timberlake's choreographer at this legendary dance place called Millennium in North Hollywood that Britney Spears would rent it before she went out on tour and practiced her dancers there. And what else was I doing? I was styling. I got into fashion. I had a fashion show. I tried to do a line. I was also this rapper's fashion stylist for a little while. Her name was Little Mama. and I styled her for her on America's Best Dance Crew. Randy Jackson's America's Best Dance Crew. Little
Wow.
Mama was the judge, and I was her stylist for a little bit there.
That's amazing.
So
Man,
PJ
you've really
Hill,
done
like, was on
everything.
the Warner Brothers lot with this pass as her stylist, you know, and I got addicted to reinventing myself and pursuing it to a point where it was almost, you know, like when I was doing the fashion thing, bro, I was going to parties where I ran into Paris Hilton multiple times. I have her phone number in my, like, her assistant's phone number in my phone. I was meeting, I have all these weird like when I got into the fashion thing, that's when it broke through. Like I was at these parties, I was meeting Lindsay Lohan and like Pink, and Samantha Ronson was spinning, or DJ AM was spinning, or Steve Aoki was spinning on the rooftop apartment of Liberace's old fucking apartment, you know,
Wow.
on Beverly Boulevard, and
Wow.
just got into that past the, you know, that like past the, into the sort of special. And I wasn't rich or anything. I was paying $780 a month in Hollywood for this little apartment, but I, through the fashion, then I broke into this upper echelon of artists, and like, you know, where and to explain the psychology of Hollywood to you, it's really weird. It's really weird there.
Yeah.
It's
No,
about,
I get that.
yeah, it's not about like I don't know. I was this fucking guy. You know what it was? It was these. And this is my dogs. I made one for my dog. This was my fashion line. I started making these like battle vests in 2002. And I was wearing them at these like hot Hollywood clubs in 2000, and, you know, where DJ AM was playing. And I have Iron Maiden on the back of my jacket. And I'm at these clubs, and it was always celebrities. Like Steven Dorff would be like, "Where'd you get that jacket?" Like, "Oh, I made it." "Are you a fashion designer?" "Yes." Like, you know what I mean? That's like,
100%.
and I
Yeah.
was totally fucking hustling out there, and I would work on these jackets. I make them by hand. I'd be working on it at the Roosevelt, which was this hotel with this pool that they would shoot Entourage episodes at. That if you watch Below, the Roosevelt's there at that, where, you know, Catch Me If You Can, when they try to catch him in that hotel room, that's the Roosevelt, you know. So like I'd be doing this, and like these, I had one funding guy. He was like a rap dude. His name was XO. He was like, "Excuse me, what are you doing there?" And like, let me get in on that. And he'd give me checks to just buy materials and keep making these. And then he'd go, and then he'd come back and stay at the Roosevelt and be like, "I think this is what I'm thinking. I want one of your jackets on TI." Like it's like I was doing this, like I was hustling out there, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. You would wait to go see him. You would wait to go see him for like, and then
It's like seeing a king in a tower.
People about funding. He would be funding people's real estate or a movie or your fashion, and you'd be in this room, and people, there'd be balls of Grey Goose. It was a suite at the Roosevelt, and you'd be smoking joints, and you'd be sitting there hanging out, partying with these dudes, and then you'd be like, "XO, we'll see you now." And then you'd go, okay. So he's like, "Okay, this is what I'm seeing." Like it was like that high ass like Hollywood
That's amazing.
thing. It was really wild. And
It's honest. It's like modern monarchies, is what it is. Like it's like they're kings now. They're kings and queens, and they're in a world above us. And
but the
you know,
thing
they
is,
let us in.
But the funny thing is about Hollywood, it's the wild fucking West, man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I wasn't rich, but I was that guy, and I learned the psychology of it. You know, and in the mid 2000s, you know how you always hear like celebrities look like shit when they're out. You know, I would run it. Okay, so figure this. I knew Scott Speedman. You know what Scott Speedman is?
I do.
So I knew Scott Speedman. Sometimes I would randomly run into him in Hollywood, and he would always talk to me. So I ran into him, and I forgot the area, what they call it. It's Gower and Franklin. It's where like they shot like Swingers, and where the celebrity center for the Scientology is. And it was this little strip. I ran into him there. He's wearing like a sweater with holes. He's got a beard, like flip-flops, like looking like a fucking bum. So Hollywood is about like the power's not so much the money, because there's rich people there. There's rich Russians there, millionaires wearing suits trying to get into these parties. But the guy at the party that you want to talk to is the guy that looks like fucking Rick Rubin in a full beard with a shirt and flip flops and a stain. And people are like, how did he get in here? This is the Nylon Magazine party. Who is that? And that's when you know that that guy is somebody.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And Hollywood's all about these celebrities. They want to show up in their fucking bathrobe because they can.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That's
right?
hilarious.
And so I learned that. Now, the thing is, I dress like a bum, which is great when you're poor.
Yeah.
And show up at these places and they'd be like, who are you? But it's not just that, right?
Yeah.
You also need to be that guy where these rich Russian millionaires in these suits, like wearing YSL suits that had to buy that shit to get into this fucking thing. They see you dressed with an Iron Maiden jacket with a bunch of people standing around you and they can't hear the conversation, but they see this guy going like that.
Yeah.
And there's like a lady from Nylon Magazine that looks like Anna Wintour, and she's listening to the guy tell the story. Like, so it's like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
You know, I learned that psychology out there, and I learned it from all kinds of people. Another Canadian guy who was like out there living, trying to be a writer. He was dating Joy Lauren Adams while she was writing The Breakup, or what was that movie? The whatever that Vince Vaughn and.
Oh, The Breakup, yeah. The one with, Jennifer Aniston, yeah.
So Joy Lauren Adams wrote that based on her breakup with Vince Vaughn.
No.
And she got Aniston to play her, and she played the friend. Vince Vaughn played Vince Vaughn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was there, and he was dating her, and he looked like a bum.
Yeah.
He had a hat, a straw hat with a hole, a chain with a lock, full beard, mid-2000s, full beard, a suit with no shirt on underneath. You know what I mean? And he knew about all the hot fucking parties in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I got to learn what this guy's doing. You know what I mean? Like, and he was that guy. But he was that interesting Hollywood dude that he had stories of, I wanted to go to Burning Man. I bought a motorcycle. I rode the motorcycle. It broke down in the desert. I hitched the best of the way there. Left the motorcycle. Like, fucking one of those guys.
Yeah.
And Hollywood loves those fucking people, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hollywood loves those guys.
It's like it seems like it's the illusion of it's illusion, but it's also like they want real people, like they want real experiences, and if you can convince them, you know, like they want it. Yeah.
Bro, trust me, I did. Yeah. I had friends. I met, like, when you go as a Canadian, you move to LA, you meet other people that you need to meet. My friend from Canada, so you meet all the other Canadians. So about maybe a year into living in Hollywood, I had foray into all these, and all the clubs who were in Hollywood in the 2000s, they were all in my area. Mm-hmm. Like Opera, Concord, like all these places, fucking LAX, which was DJ AM's place. And I could get into all of these places. And like these other kids, like, how, like, but I knew that, like, based on that psychology I told you about, being the bum and being, like, I remember I would go up to these places and they'd have lists, and I would say my name knowing that my name was not on the list, and just to see what would happen. Like, so either they'd have the list and I know my name's not on the list. I've seen this. Yeah. Like, I know my name's out there.
Yeah.
I've had to, or you go, oh, your name's not on the list. Well, Michael invited me. And you stand your ground and you will eventually get in. Like, you don't show up, like you wouldn't show up looking like that unless you were one of them.
Yeah.
So, like, it's psychology,
that's awesome.
Right?
That's beautiful.
I carry that out to Tiff here. Like, I've got, like, if we want to go to the thing, like, I'll just say, you know, go Guerrero. You know, like, you know, like, you're supposed to be there. Like, I learned that in LA in the 2000s.
Yeah, it's attitude more than anything. That's really
psychology. It's a psychology.
Yeah,
it's a psychology. I knew these really, like, all the women there are beautiful. I knew these girls where they would literally rent a limo, put on evening gowns, and show up at the in-style party. Get the guy to pull up, and they would just get out and walk in.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
So what brought you back here then?
Just being out there long enough, and I also had a son here that he's
Mhm.
wanted to move out of his mother's, and
Mhm.
that was the main thing. And like I wasn't making any money, but I was like enjoying life,
Yeah.
and I was kind of trying to make all these things happen. And I was on a reality show I got kicked out of. Like that's what got me into styling. It was a stylist reality show. I knew nothing about styling, but I used to kind of be in a fashion here and buy stuff. I'd go to Home Rent Fruit, But then I learned about styling, and that's where I learned how to make these jackets. And I learned about with fashion. It's like you could like I was sort of I called myself like a consumer of it, where I
Mhm.
was buying fashion magazines, understanding that fashion would change every 6 months from fall, winter to spring, summer.
Mhm.
Um, this season it's zippers going this way and bell bottom and whatever, and it would be very expensive. But I then I learned about personal style, and that's where you're kind of you just know how to dress because you understand things like context and silhouette. And
Mhm.
context is a theme like cowboy. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So I have some boots and I have a hat, like and or silhouette. Silhouette is if you watch fashion drawings, torsos are this big, you're skinny, your legs are this long, but you can achieve that with clothes, no
Mhm.
matter what your body is. You can make it, you could try to make that happen. You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
silhouette. So, and then authenticity in styling means if I have this shirt, if I show up at this party, is anyone else wearing the shirt? No. So that's authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And authenticity is easy. All these things are easy to achieve with no money.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
authenticity, I wear my dad's thing from the 70s. No one's gonna have it.
Yeah.
And if you wear it like and if you look good, people will come up to you like, where'd you get that jacket? But it's not really about the jacket. It's about something that they can't quite put their finger on.
Yeah.
What is it about this person that makes them so comfortable? And I'm uncomfortable here at this fucking party.
Yeah.
And Lindsay Lohan's around,
Yeah.
But this guy, he's dancing. He's just
Yeah.
not caring.
Yeah.
And it becomes like about the jacket. But really what you're selling is freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah. 100 That makes a lot of sense. Confidence too,
freedom
right? Like,
freedom to do whatever you want, freedom from not being insecure
yeah.
for wearing this fucking clown hat or a clown nose or whatever, you know
Yeah.
you know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
it. If you can put someone in the coolest, outfit that you could possibly find, but like if they don't have the confidence or the sureness within them to
No,
walk like they belong to be wearing it, it doesn't
right.
matter. It doesn't
Look
matter.
at this guy who didn't spend $1,000, who's wearing this shit, and he's the most he's how come everyone's talking to him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing
And
you can't teach, right?
you can't teach it. But
No.
I swear to God, it's all they want is freedom. How come he gets to show up here like this? How come he, like, or she, or it's just all I boil it down to like it's how free can you be
Yeah.
without being P Diddy?
Yeah. A little too free there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, so funny. Anyways, yeah, like the thing is, like, I could talk forever on
Oh, it's all good. I
all
just
kinds of shit, dude. Like, honestly, is there anything we need to cover that you wanted covered?
well, I was just gonna ask what the next, like, what you're doing nowadays. Like, what's the next stage, the next reinvention?
Honestly, lately I've been hanging on by sort of taking advantage of all this BIPOC hiring that's going
Mhm.
on. They're like last year I did about 7 or 8 commercials,
Nice.
mixed in with wrestling, which now I have to quit because the wife doesn't want me doing it anymore, and she's right.
She's not
And,
wrong.
and I've seen enough things happen, and I've skirted enough injury that
Yeah.
um
Look, you know what, you still can. Like, I'm thinking about it a lot because, like, I'm 39 now, and I've been doing it for uh
oh my God,
eight,
I don't even want to know. I
18
don't even
years,
want to know.
18 years roughly. So, like,
So
my
you
wife.
see Abdullah the Butcher, you
Oh
see
yeah.
Vince McMahon can't even fucking walk anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I went to a show a while ago and I watched.
All these guys are just humped over.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I can't do that.
I went to a show once and Mick Foley was on it, and I was, backstage, and one of the other wrestlers was just like,
When was this? When she
oh, he wasn't wrestling. He was just there doing a
I
signing.
know, but when
But
was this?
this would have probably been 7 8 years ago.
7 years ago. And how did he look?
good, but like to watch him walk
Was
around.
he-
Oh yeah, no, it was brutal. It was brutal. Like a friend of mine just looked at me like when he walked by and he said, "Man, look at that." And he, like the guy can barely walk, you know. And but when the bell, like he went out and did a thing in the ring where they just had like a promo and whatever. But you know, when the bell goes, he can go. But there's guys that you watch them walk backstage and stuff, and you're like, "Oh man."
No,
So
you
I'm
know,
already thinking about the exit. I don't, you know, I don't want to give it up, but after doing
yeah.
it so long, it's like I also want to not be hunched over for the rest of my life either. So
Well, you know, it's funny. Like, what a fantastic fucking experience it was.
Mhm.
I feel like I got to go behind the curtain of
Oh
a
yeah.
very secret, privileged group
Hmm.
to learn how to do something that is unlike anything in this world,
Hmm.
that is so special and so magical, because most people in the wrestling world are great fucking people, you know, and they have dreams. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, it's a dream to even, like I said, to even just be part of it. I've seen these students where, like, I'm like, like, I don't have the heart to tell them, like, man, you, like, good luck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I hope you get to do it somewhere,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and they're good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of the best, like there are guys out here that are fantastic, and it's like unless it's like getting into film too, like being an actor, whatever. Like
Listen,
it's just a matter of luck compared. Like you need to have the drive, you need to have the get up
right.
and go, you need to be willing to throw it all away to go do something else, and you
And
also
that's,
need
I'll tell you, I felt so guilty, like, and I still feel guilty about, but I understand it now that I understand wrestling.
Mhm.
Like, yes, like, you put PJ Phil in there, he's fucking over.
Yeah, of course.
You know, especially if he's a babyface, right?
Yeah, of course, as you
put
should
him
be. It'd
with
be insane to
even
make you not.
a guy who doesn't even isn't even a good heel.
Yeah.
It is fucking one and done.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I feel guilty about that because people break their bodies for years and years and years to get an opportunity to
Yeah.
be over.
Yeah.
And I still feel guilty about it, but I get it. Of course PJ Phil would be over
There's a
me, and I feel guilty about it.
I mean, it's like anything. Like you could be a young, like I'm sure there are movies where like I'll tell you a story which I think is hilarious. It's related to what you said, but they're like a young actor that could, you know, is at the big thing right now, and there's the guy that's been doing it forever. You know, that's maybe the supporting role, but that's just what it needs at that time. But yeah, I was watching. There's this documentary show out by the same guys that made Dark Side of the Ring, called The Death of WCW. So it's all about like how
We watched
WCW.
it already.
Oh, did you? So that whole bit where they're talking to David. Oh, Jesus, why am I blanking on his last name from the Scream movies? Arquette, David Arquette, where he's like he wins the WCW championship and he's standing backstage. He's like, "Man, I'm so." He goes, "Booker, I can't believe I'm the WCW champion. How many times have you had it, Booker?" And Booker's just like, "I never had that once, man." You know, and it's just like that level of like him realizing how he shouldn't have this related to all the
It's
people
funny,
around him.
you know, and I was, you know, when I wasn't into wrestling, I kind of looked at it too. I was like, what's he doing? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel bad for him because, like, he does love it.
Yeah.
He,
Oh, yeah.
he's a nerd, right?
Yeah.
We
And he's
can
not
agree on
bad.
that.
I've seen his indie stuff. He's not bad. He's a decent
And
little
he's
wrestler.
not too bad.
No.
Is it his personality, the timing? My road through it was never like that. It was never like. But the thing is, I also took it seriously. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I'm not going out there unless I'm trying to fucking be like the best.
Yeah.
I want to take this seriously. And I'll tell you, man, I'm fucking 51. You know, I can do stunners. I can do her. Like, mind you, I'm not taking them, which is the worst, the harder part. But I can, you know, like I'm pretty proud of what I achieved.
Yeah, as you should be.
Even to just do a stunner, like, but I can do a stunner. I can do a Hurricane Rano. I can do and I've only done it once, and it was the first time I tried it in front of 1,000 people. A Canadian destroyer.
Oh God, okay, nice.
Winnipeg.
That's way harder on the person taking it than the person doing it. So
The
you're lucky
person
that
taking
yeah.
it, I'm like, I owe him my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot of trust in wrestling with the
It's a
person
lot
you're
of
wrestling.
that one's a tough, and it's funny when I did that in Winnipeg, I'd never done one before, but I looked at the video, I met the guy, I talked to him, and I was like, okay, like I'll do this. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm okay if he can clear me.
Yep.
Like as long as he doesn't land on me.
Yep.
I get it. Dude, that Canadian destroyer, I never practiced. All we practiced was me grabbing him around the waist.
Yep.
That was it. His head between my legs and me doing this.
Yep.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we did it for like, I tried it for the first time, like in front of 1,000 people, and it worked. Thank God, you know, like, and that's like a move, right? Like before a fire up, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Now, like I do it, and you know that sort of like, am I okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going like this.
Yeah.
You're like, can I stand up? You know what I mean? Because I have to fire up right now. You know what I mean? And luckily, you know, shut up. I'm on my ass. I'm like, getting up. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
it
that's
could
amazing.
easily been where I can't get up. And
Yeah.
I've had a couple of injuries where I think they might haunt me later, and it's just nerve stuff.
Yeah.
Like I did a cyclone DDT or
Yep.
a hurricane DDT,
Yep.
and when I hit the bat, it was like half on my ass, half on my back, and I'm halfway through a match, and when I hit the mat, my leg like instantly fell asleep.
Mm.
Right, and
Yeah.
I couldn't stand up, and now I still have to do a couple of stunners, and I don't, and my leg, you'll see it, it's on YouTube.
Mhm.
It was this alliance, like this show at the Alliance, and it was the night where House of Black came, bro, like from
Nice.
AEW,
Yeah.
you know, and
That's
I met
awesome.
all those dudes, and that was like, it was like, hey man, I'm on the card with some fucking, you know,
Yeah. Well, that's another thing.
boyfriend now, you know.
Yeah. So another thing people don't talk about is when that happens, like you get hurt in a match, you got to keep going. You know,
gotta keep going.
a friend of mine, another wrestler, made that joke. He's like, in any other sport, if you get hurt, like and you're laying on the ground, they put a neck brace on you and they put you in a little thing and they make sure nobody touches you. You got to get out of the building.
No,
But now they just like in a match, they just pull you out of the way and like and then keep going if you're in the you're in a corner, right? Like, yeah.
Actually, my wife and I went to WrestleMania in LA, and we were there for fucking Shane McMahon blowing out his quad.
Yeah.
And, emergency. Who's here? Who's left?
Yeah.
Dog in the Miz.
Yeah.
Watched, like, well, I saw this shit. And I was like, like, what are they gonna do? Like, you know, and that's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And
They gotta
to see Snoop Dogg come up with a spot with the Miz, like at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that was a pretty famous sort of, but that's like the thing about wrestling that other people don't really understand is that like
people don't
sometimes
understand.
the show's got to go on. It's a live show, you know, like Owen Hart died in the ring and they just had to keep doing the show. Like it's a live show.
I heard a guy simply because he was supposed to pick me up off the ground, and instead of that happening, I forgot my part and I stood up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Instead of him picking me up, I stood up. Now, next thing you know, the top of my head hits his chin. He chips a tooth. He's bleeding. You know, it's that simple. And I'm not even talking about a house show, bro, where there's chairs and public involved and flying out of fucking off the third rope, like into off the apron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like simple things, simple little fuck ups are bad. Are bad.
Yeah. Well, I commend you, man. I mean, there's a lot of people like I do theater as well, stage stuff, and like I do some acting and stuff occasionally.
So you see like all the components of wrestling.
Yeah, and wrestling too.
Why it's so fantastic? Like,
but
acting, it's physical. It's it's working. It's crowd work.
Yeah,
it's
improv. It's everything. You know,
improv. It's acting.
It's inhabiting a character that you built around yourself. Like you know, it's like the ultimate
and trying
acting.
to make that work and trying to get over and and do they scream at the hot tag?
Yeah.
Like
it's a real storytelling aspect to it.
I've had matches that are better than other matches.
Yeah, you always will.
Because I'm me, it does what it does. You know what I mean? Like PJ feels in the ring.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel kind of ashamed about it, but
that's
what you work for is to be over. And unfortunately, I'm just instantly over because look, it's like a circus show. PJ feels in the ring.
Yeah.
But I made sure that I wasn't just some guy in the ring. Like I wanted to do some shit.
Yeah.
And I did. I feel like I did. You tell me. Like when you saw the videos of me wrestling, I wanted to make sure it was that. It wasn't like, oh, here we go. Like
no, 100%. And I mean, I wouldn't feel bad about it because in a way,
like they say a rising tide floats all ships, right? So like when you're if adding you to the product will get more eyes on the product, gives more opportunity for people that are lower. Like there's still
And
there's
I
still
can
chance.
objectively look at that.
Yeah.
By me being there, it will help all these guys get some eyes on them.
Yep.
And a lot of wrestlers told me that.
Yeah,
That's
true.
It's
true.
still like an underlying guilt feeling of just like sliding in, where I see how hard it is to just even get like a fucking spot and an indie show.
Yep.
And these are people's dreams.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my dream. It was this fun thing. It was vintage stereos, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know? And I still feel a little bit weird and a little bit guilty about it. I swear to God. I swear to God. But I can step out of my body and look at it and see how it's beneficial to people to have this celebrity on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
awesome.
Like, if I can say anything for myself, I tried to do a good job. Like at fucking 51, you know what I mean? Like just like a Canadian destroyer, I'm pretty fucking proud, man. Like, if you needed me to do a stunner right now, like I need you to do a stunner in 2 minutes. All right, you know?
Yeah, you're ready.
I'm ready. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to take any more time, man. This is a great conversation.
I hope that was okay.
That was fantastic. No, it was fantastic. I think we got a really good vibe about who you are as a person, which is the whole point of this. So that's awesome.
I hope so.
I think so too. Well, maybe next.
I could go on for like an hours.
Well, maybe next time I'm in Toronto, I'll meet you at Blood Brothers, and we can have a
seriously. That's we live. Blood Brothers is right over
that way.
Brothers. It's right over there.
Awesome. All right.
Like 2 blocks that way.
Well, I hope to see you there sometime.
All right, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bill.
There you have it, my chat with Phil Guerrero. What a great conversation. Like I said, man, that guy's been everywhere. He's done everything. He's been all over the map, and he certainly is living life to the fullest. I really appreciate guys that have this inherent curiosity to find out what makes things tick and the bravery to go in and find out. And, like he mentioned, fixing things and taking things apart and soldering and doing all that stuff. He's got the tenacity to go through that, to do those things and learn. And use that in a real-world environment, which is very cool to see. Hell of a life so far, a hell of amount of careers and all that stuff. A great conversation. Really, really love chatting with him, and hopefully I'll get to hook up with him in real life sometime soon. In the meantime, tune in next week for another fun-filled episode. I got a bunch of interviews between now and then, so one of them will be up, and I'll announce it on social media as I always do. But in the meantime, stay safe, have fun. Read some comics, and put up those Halloween decorations. It's time. The Graphic Histories Podcast is a proud partner of the United Federation of Podcasts.